So, just getting going here. I'm going to step aside for a second and uh, drop this onto uh, Blue Sky. Be just a second here while I type out this. Okay. I've got a few people here. Hi, Allison. Um, Sorry about that. All right. So usually I'm broadcasting from both Twitter and YouTube, but I've disavowed Twitter, so I'm only going off of YouTube now. I probably am going to be short a couple hundred followers. Um, Usually they're like around 500, but now I've got two. That's all right. Um, hey, Ditzling. So yes, and you're welcome. I'm glad that you like my Blue Sky tutorials. I really uh, made those because I went through some learning, and so I thought I'd make it easier for everybody else. Um, and so today I wanted to talk about Blue Sky, and I wanted to talk about this kind of idea that you know where putting ourselves in a bubble and um, that we just don't want to listen to what the magas have to say. And to that, I will say I don't want to listen to what the magas have to say. And this idea that somehow we need to listen to what they have to say, I find ridiculous. Um, they did not win the election based on their stimulating intellectual arguments and incisive insights and all of that kind of stuff. They won it by lying. And you can't have a good faith conversation or a good faith debate with somebody that's talking in bad faith. That's just not going to happen. And so it's like it just becomes a waste of energy, a waste of uh, my stress level. Like it's just all it is aggravation, and that's what they want. They just want to make our lives miserable. They don't really care about anything else. And I keep thinking about how it was all about the children. Oh, they're going to turn your children into trans people. And then as soon as Trump gets elected and he starts naming a child raper to attorney general and another guy that wants to kill their children with disease as the in charge of their health and take away their vaccines, it's like, okay, you never really care what about the children. You never cared about the children at all. Hey, um, I don't even know how to say that, so sorry if I butcher it. Omikai. Thanks for joining. Um, but there is no place to have a conversation with MAGAs. And the MAGAs don't want to have a conversation with us. Like calling me a libtard, pedo communist is not like the kind of thing. Like I can't rebut that, right? Like I can't say, oh, I'm not a libtard, communist, pedo. It's like it's not like there is an honest conversation we're just avoiding being harangued for no reason. And so I think I wanted to talk about that in context with BlueSky, because a lot of people, like a lot of MAGAs, are trying to come over to BlueSky and they're trying to say, like just do what they did on Twitter. And this is one of the great features of BlueSky, is that there are some incredible moderation techniques. And if you haven't downloaded my second BlueSky tutorial, I highly advise that you do that. But what I didn't cover it in a lot of detail. When you get a MAGA, here's what I want you to do. First of all, click on their, first of all, make sure you're following at least one or two block lists. And the block lists are, make sure it's one that's, like you look through it and it's real MAGAs on there. There are some of them that they're actually MAGA lists that are created, and they'll put like Mueller, She Wrote was on one of them, and like some large accounts that are legitimate liberal accounts that we like, and they put those on there, and they're trying to actually block large blue accounts. And so make sure you review the list. There's the MAGA list that I recommend in one of my videos. That one's well cultivated. And there's another one. There's another couple I've seen. Just make sure that when you subscribe to a list, that it's an actual authentic MAGA list and not a list by MAGAs that blocks blue accounts. So go in and report. Like when you get a MAGA, click on it and then and report it, and it'll say which subscription service do you want to report it to, and then report it to like all your subscription services. And then what happens is they'll get it, they'll look at it, and they'll authenticate that this is indeed a MAGA account, and then they'll block it for everybody that subscribed to that list. So you're not just taking care of you don't need to see that crap anymore. You're making sure nobody else has to see that crap anymore. And it's in this way, like this is one of the real brilliances of BlueSky, is we don't all have to individually block every single asshole by ourselves. It's like, each asshole only needs to get blocked one time. And MAGAs are getting really upset about this, that they don't have anything to do with their lives now because they can't come and harass us. And so they're like, oh, you're afraid of a debate. You're afraid. Dude, I tried to debate you clowns for 10 years, and all you ever did was call me a pedo, libtard, liberal. So, forget it. I'm not going to argue with you about whether or not I have sex with children, especially while you're sitting there advocating for a guy that actually does have sex with children to be the attorney general. So yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to debate with you. I'm not going to talk to you. I have no time for you. You're gone from my life the moment I find out that you exist in it. So first report it to the proper, to the MAGA list, or to the block list. And then after you're done with that, I want you to, there's another selection that says remove from timeline, and or remove for everyone, I think it says. Something like that. And so then you can take the comment out of your, this is only if you're the original poster, but you can take the comment out of that thread, right? So then you don't have somebody else coming along and then, being well-meaning and trying to, talk to them, and then have this thread, this argument in your post that you don't really want to have anything to do with. So you can just make sure that they have nothing. You're just done with them from the start. So that's the next thing you do, is remove it from your list. And then once you're done with that, block them. And, you never see them again. But you're also making sure that nobody else has to see them. And I think, like, if we as a community make sure to keep them, like as soon as they pop up, we step on them, then we don't have to worry about them. And so, some people will say, well, what about free speech? And it's like, I've been thinking of it like this. You have free speech, right? Like, everybody has free speech. You can say whatever you want. But if you're in my house and you start spewing Nazi propaganda, I'm tossing you out of my house. You have a right to say it. That doesn't mean I have to listen to it. I have a right to not listen to what you have to say, just as much as you have a right to say what you want to say. But you don't have a right to say it to me when I don't want to listen to you. So if I toss you out of my house, that's my right. That's my house, right? And I look at my timeline is like my house. If I don't want to listen to somebody spew propaganda, I don't have to listen to somebody spew propaganda. I'm under no obligation to entertain you. So if I'm just throwing you out my house, that's all I'm doing. And you can go and you can take your little crap to Truth Social or whatever. Remember how when they started Truth Social, and they were like, oh, we're gonna go start our own site, and then they went and all they could do was be around each other. And since they're all assholes and all they could do is just sit there and look at other assholes, they're like, well, this is really boring. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to talk about. If there's no libs to own, what's the point of our existence? And so then they came back to Twitter. Yeah, well, now everybody left Twitter and they're stuck just together again. And they're trying to come over to BlueSky so that they can harass everybody. And they're finding out it's not working because there's these incredible tools at BlueSky. So I really, really encourage you to utilize those tools so that you don't have to engage with them all the time. They're just so friggin' annoying. Anyway, that's the gist of what I want to say. And I'm going to go through and there's a bunch of comments and I'll respond to those. And then I've got some more I want to say about just the idea of free speech. Oh, wow. This is I've got 8 whole people here, which is the most I've ever had from YouTube. So that's kind of cool. All right. So yeah, bubbles are for our protection. As to MAGA, they are so filled with self-loathing that they project out to us. That's an interesting point. I think there's probably some of it like that. That's it. They're like, their own lives are maybe not what they want to be, and they need to blame somebody rather than take responsibility and ownership over their own lives. And so it's the government's fault. It's the immigrants' fault. It's the liberals' fault. It's somebody else's fault. It couldn't possibly be my fault that my life is falling apart, that my wife left me, and that my dog doesn't like me. That's got to be the liberals' fault. Okay. I don't know what that means. Oh my God. Oh, is that? Anyway, that's how you say it. I gotcha. Okay. Thanks so much, guy. All right. All right. Exactly right, MK. Their interest in talking, and there are times where I've been talking to somebody and they are responding in good faith. And a few of those actually ended up voting for Harris. I had one guy that I was talking to on Twitter even, and he was, I was like, he finally thought about, are they really releasing their prisoners in Congo on the southern border? And so he went and he looked to see if there was any difference, if any evidence that the prisons in Congo had emptied out. He couldn't find any. And he's like, oh, what do I, maybe this isn't true. And this is, and I've talked about this the other day, that the cognitive dissonance, here's the thing about cognitive dissonance. Once you can chip away at it a little tiny bit, the first time you can get them to go, maybe I'm wrong about that, then it's like it opens the floodgates, and they start realizing that they're wrong about everything. So it's like just that one little thing. They're not emptying out the prisons in Congo. Trump lies. And then once you realize Trump lies, which you would think is self-evident, because some of the things he says are so ridiculous, but they believe everything he says. There was that one representative that said, oh, Trump is never wrong. And it's like, yes, he is. Like, this is insanity. Everybody's wrong sometimes, even me. When, it's not that frequent, but it happens. Just ask my wife. This is a great feature. Yeah, you're talking about the the remove from timeline, I think, Miss Jamie. Is it Jamie or Amy? Probably Jamie. And it is super weird that they're upset they can't try to torture us. It's like that is the meaning of their existence, and it's like all they have to live for. Oh no, what am I gonna do? I don't have anybody to harass now. And it's like, well, that's just too bad. My existence is not to humor you and your bullying. It's like, get a life, dude. Of course, maybe they can't because nobody will date them. They have, yeah. It's like at some point, truth and there's, one thing I'm watching though is there's this kind of rift developing between Musk and Trump. Like Trump is saying Musk is like the guy that won't leave the party. And it's like, take a hint, dude. And then Musk is like, dude, I bought you. I own you. You wouldn't be here if it weren't for me, which is probably true. If he hadn't bought Twitter and jacked up the algorithms and pumped hundreds of millions of dollars into Trump's campaign, he probably would have lost. Like if he had done that, like for Harris instead of Trump, then Harris would have definitely. I think Musk's role in Trump winning is not something we've discussed enough. And so I'm watching this rift. If those two start fighting, it's going to be fun watching like the MAGAs battle the Muskrats and see who wins. And it's just, I'm going to be sitting there going, I'm just going to watch it for entertainment. I'm not going to participate, obviously, but it's going to be fun watching them try and mutilate each other. But just keep your eye on that, because I don't even know if it makes it until the inauguration before Trump has enough of Musk. It does say everything that they just want to hurt other people, and they call themselves Christians. Like the very essence of I'm a Christian. I don't know how many people know that. I was a minister for like 15 years, and I've read the Bible. I've read the New Testament over 100 times, read the Old Testament about 5 times, read a bunch of other books. My point is I'm pretty well schooled on theology. And here's the thing is, there are basically 2 kinds of people in the Bible. There are the people who know they're sinners, and they're the people who don't know they're sinners. And, like it starts even with Cain and Abel. And they both made an offering to God, right? And then Abel made an offering of a lamb, which was a prefigure of Christ. And then Abel made the offering of all the, like 10% of his produce and everything. And God took out of Abel's offering, and he didn't take Caleb's. And Caleb's like, you told us to, toil by the sweat of our brow and everything. And then he got jealous of Abel because he's just sitting there, playing with sheep all day, and he doesn't even do what he's supposed to do. And God takes his offering. So he kills Abel. And so anyway, this might seem like it's a digression, but I'll bring it back home now. This is what I call a weave. The point of it is that in the Garden of Eden, there were 2 trees. There was the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And, a lot of people think of it like there's good and there's evil, and that's the contest that we're having, right? But they both come from the same tree. And what happens is, if you try to be good, the more you try to be good, eventually, because of it being the same tree, evil gets manifested out of because you're eating from that tree. And so it's the same thing. And so he ends up killing his brother. Evil was the manifestation of his, that murder was the manifestation of him trying to be good. The tree of life actually represents God and in enjoying God. And if you do that, then you just express life, which is, won't go into it because probably not all of you are Christians. But just that's the essence of what Christianity is supposed to be, is that if you love God and enjoy God and pray to God and really are in touch with God, that's what you manifest in your life. If you eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil and try to be good and try to be good and try to be good, eventually evil is what you will manifest in your life. And that's what you see with MAGA and their pseudo-Christianity, is that they're eating from the wrong tree. They're always eating from that tree. And you see it with the Pharisees, and you saw it with the Sadducees, and you saw it with all the religious people in the New Testament. So anyway, that's theology in a nutshell. If any of you are Christians, you may or may not agree with me, but that's my interpretation. Oh my God, my timeline, my house. What a great way to look. I really think it doesn't it fit. I mean, it's just like, and I think we should all think about that, and let's just keep our houses in order and keep the MAGAs out. Then so I'm assuming oh my God, you mean that with the MAGA? There are a couple of times, and that's why, like sometimes I'll ask people, like they'll say, Joe Biden's a pedo. And I'll ask him, do you really believe that? Like, do you really sincerely believe that Joe Biden has sex with little children because you've got this little picture of him kissing a kid on the head? And it's like, and then you point out, the pictures that they usually show. There's one of two things that they show. One is where he's kissing the kids on the head. In case you didn't know this, those kids that he's kissing on the head are his grandchildren. And the reason he's kissing them on the head is that they were Bo's children. And this was at Bo's funeral. And so he's comforting his grandchildren at their father's funeral. And these people are so sick, they turn it into something, gross and disgusting. And so when you explain that to them, sometimes they go, oh, well, maybe I'm wrong, but usually they're just like, oh, you're still a pedo. And then, it's time to block and move on. The other time that is when he had, where I think it's, what's his name, Kuhn, and he's accepting, the role of senator, and Joe Biden leans down and he's like whispering in the little girl's ear, and what he's whispering is, my daughter was your age when I became a senator, and so if you need any advice, give her a call. And so, like he's just being kind, and they turned that into something sick. So, but these are the kind of people like you're dealing with. And so, but then when it's, Matt Gaetz is being nominated for Attorney General, all of a sudden they don't care about such things. But I just, like if like being a pedophile, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting, which is why accusing somebody of being a pedophile when it's not true is also equally disgusting. And so it's the way that they carelessly accuse somebody of being a pedophile because they comfort their grandchildren at their father's funeral is just like, you're sick if you do that. Oh, okay. You were talking about the starter pack. I love the starter pack features. And if you haven't looked at my first video, watch that. There's this directory that they have. And this is really cool. When I made the video just a few days ago, there were like it had just topped 10,000 starter packs in that list. Now there's over 40,000 starter packs. So to give you an idea of how much BlueSky has just exploded in the last few days, I think that's wonderful. And the other thing is look through the feeds. Like look through the directory of starter packs and look at like different interests you have. Like if you're an NFL fan, just type in NFL and you'll see starter packs for the NFL, art, science, and then do the same thing on the feeds and you'll find all kinds of feeds for those things. And it's really, really helpful to go through and just expand your horizons. I think I've discovered so many new people on BlueSky because I don't have Elon telling me what I want to see. And for some reason, Elon thinks the only thing I want to see are his tweets, because that was always the first thing that showed up in my feed until I finally blocked him. Musk got a position out of it. He's the head of the fake agency, the Doge. But we'll see how that goes. Trump seems to think that he can just create an agency by himself. Yeah, that's not how it happens. There's this thing called Congress. Whether or not Congress actually does these things, because the Constitution says that the Congress has the power of the purse string. So it's like, and that's their most significant power. And so I would be shocked if even this Congress just decided they were going to hand over that power to the executive branch, because it's not like Trump's going to be the last president. Do they want to give that, that power to the next Democratic president? I don't think so. We jokingly have bets on how many weeks before the first cabinet crumbles in my local. Oh yeah, or gets arrested. Of course, now they're all above the law. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Apparently, they're not going to be allowed the recess appointments because Mitch McConnell has said there's not going to be a recess. So that was the way they were going to get around, avoid, like some of these appointments. So Matt Gaetz is going to have to go through a confirmation hearing, and he's going to have to answer questions to Democrats. And I think that eventually either we're going to see the report on him one way or another. I think it's ridiculous that the committee won't just release the report. Like, if he's not guilty of anything, then why are you covering up the report? Because there's nothing in there to condemn him for. You're absolving him if it absolves him, and if it doesn't absolve him, even more, why are you covering it up? Because then you're knowingly hiding information that's really pertinent. You're putting a pedophile, a child raper, in charge of the Justice Department. Like, how can you live with yourself doing that? Okay, Trump was asked if he had anything he would ask for. Oh yeah, right. So this is when I was talking about being a Christian. Yes, and that's sort of the most fundamental thing about being a Christian is first you have to repent. And if he literally thinks he is perfect and has never done anything wrong. And there was this clip from the Howard Stern show where he and his kids were on the Howard Stern show, and they were asked, like they had all gone to Wharton, so they should at least know how to add and subtract, right? And so Howard Stern asked them to add like a 3-digit number and a 2-digit number. I can't remember what they were. And they all got it wrong. And it was like, it wasn't even a hard question. Like you could do it in your head in like 30 seconds. In 3 seconds. Anyway, they all got it wrong. One of the producers worked it out on a calculator and said, this is the right answer. Howard Stern had the right answer. But Donald Trump somehow managed to convince Howard Stern that the calculator was wrong, Howard Stern was wrong, and Donald Trump was right. And to me, that's just like represents everything that Donald Trump is. He has a way of, no matter how much he lies, no matter how wrong he is, he has a way of persuading people that he's right, no matter how wrong he is. I don't know how it happens, but it does. And it's just so weird to watch Howard Stern sit there and go, oh, okay, I see where you're coming from, and just concede. Yes, that's a great chapter. I really enjoy that chapter. Godliness with contentment is a great gain. Religious right is anything but content. Amen to that. They are the opposite. They're angry. They're just always so angry. And it's like, what are you so angry about? What did the government do to you, really? Like, it's just like, calm down. Like, I don't understand it. Why are you so angry? Like, has anybody really tried to force your kids to become trans or gay? Is it have immigrants really come into your kitchen and slit your throat? Like, all of these things, like, they don't happen. Like, I can honestly say every encounter I've ever had with an undocumented worker or an illegal immigrant or whatever you want to call them, every single one of them has been positive. I've never had a negative interaction with them. And I live in rural Texas. So it's not like I don't have interactions with them. They're all just, when I've had them do work on my house. I've had them, mow my lawn and stuff. And uh, usually they're way more educated than the job they're doing, but that's another thing. They're just trying to, like, earn a living for their families. I don't understand. Like, the Republicans want to make it sound like crossing the border illegally is some great moral wrong, and it's like, it's a freaking border. Like, it's not like it wasn't even illegal for the first 150 years of our nation. So why are you so upset about it? I don't get that. I love the latest from them. Oh yeah, your body, my choice. Like, really? How are we supposed to debate with that? No, 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 no. It's my body, my choice. You don't, like, if somebody says that, they're just an asshole, and it's just time to block them and move along. There's no point in engaging with that. In the Old Testament. Okay. I'm not sure that's right, but I don't see any. I think it says that he actually offered his own produce, but it doesn't. It's moot. He doesn't have it yet. I don't know what that is in reference to. It is absolutely insane that they won't release it. I'm assuming you're talking about the report. Absolutely, I don't understand that. Like, it's just they have no principles at all at this point. Back to BlueSky. Is there any chance of new people required to create a bio? We're afraid of falling in case they're MAGA. Yeah. I'd say look at their timeline and see if they're MAGA. I've seen a few people, like, mention this. Make sure everybody creates a bio and stuff. And I think that there is some, like, if you're coming over from the other place where it wasn't the culture, like, you may not know that is the culture here, and that's kind of a hard thing to to impose. But if I do another video on self-help, I might include that as part of the the etiquette thing. Maybe I should tweet something about that too, because I do see your point. Like, I actually don't have much of a bio. I think my bio is the number one pundit. My bio is a pun, so maybe I need to write more of a bio. The Republicans want to make it sound like our economy doesn't run on migrant labor and always has. Oh, yes. This is like such a big concern of mine, because like, you look at what happened in Alabama where they tried to clean them out, and you look at what happened in Florida, and there is one aspect of it is that they harvest like 50% of our produce, like our fruits and like there are some things that you can do with combines automatically, but some things, some fruits and vegetables and stuff are just you can't automate that. They have to be done by hand, like strawberries, for instance, and cucumbers. Those things have to be harvested by hand, and those things, like 50% of them at least, are uh, processed by undocumented workers. And it's not like if we get rid of them, we get rid of 50% of, we're just getting rid of what they did. If you have a farm and you lose 50% of your harvest, you can't stay in business. So 100% of that food ends up going away. It's not like just half the food goes away. And then you're also there's a little bit of a misconception that like undocumented workers basically work for free. They work, but they work for less, but it's like a few dollars an hour less. It's not like they're being paid slave labor or something like that. And they're actually there. It's I think there needs to be a lot more protection for them. Um, I think that this whole, like, we really need to rethink how we do the whole thing. Um, and I think that there needs to be, like, they don't get workers comp, they don't, and they don't have any kind of workers rights or anything like that. And I think that we need those things for them. So there's that. But um, I don't think it's right that I think they should make more, but I think if we get rid of them, we also have to balance that out and realize if we're going to have a food shortage, a serious food shortage. And then when you couple that with the tariffs, it's like our imported food is going to be more expensive and we're not going to have domestic food. And so it's like, it's going to get really bad if he does this. And Mike Johnson was walking back some of this recently, saying, "Well, I think he's just going to get rid of the bad ones, and we'll see what happens." He didn't say just the bad ones; he said all of them over and over again. And then, so anyway, what happens is they've done studies where they've cleaned out the undocumented workers, and what it is for every million undocumented workers that you actually lose, in addition to those jobs, another 80,000 jobs. So it's going to make unemployment go up. They're like, oh, they're taking our jobs, but we're at full employment and have been for 3 years. So who's going to take the job? Whose jobs are they taking, and who's going to take the jobs when they leave? We don't have people to work. We have more undocumented workers than we have people who aren't working. And most of the people who aren't working because they don't want to work. They're either like housewives or retired or whatever. Like some people are retire early. They've made it. They've got enough money and they don't want to work, so they don't. And so they're like working age still, so they count as like not working, but they don't count as unemployment. Well, that's gonna be impacted. We don't have enough people to do those jobs. So it just makes no sense to me. And somebody's like, well, if it weren't for abortion, and it's like, dude, even if you force women to have babies, it's going to be 18 years before they're old enough to work in the fields. And it's like, that's starting to sound a lot more like slavery. Like, oh, you need to force people to have births so that they can go and work in the fields. Boy, that sounds familiar. So some Omaikai agrees with the profile. So I'll post that on BlueSky, just encouraging everybody, and I'll update mine. It's all right. Is your blood typo? Get it? Get it? Typo. Your blood typo. All right. Never mind. I think if you read my bio, you'd know pretty fast where I stand. Yeah, I think if you read my bio, you would know that between my name and my bio that I do puns. That's true. They don't have much of a timeline. And yeah. So yeah, I'll mention something. I don't know how many people will see it, but I'll mention something. You got me. You convinced me. I live in Maine, and blueberry harvest is manual and done by undocumented and documented migrants. Right. I think that's the way it is. Most places it's like about a 50-50 split. But like once if you can only harvest half your blueberries, your business is done, right? Oh, so Georgia, I hadn't heard about Georgia. I'll look into that. But probably, I mean, I haven't heard any place where they deported a bunch of undocumented workers and it worked out well. Yeah, and that's the other thing is the work camps. That would be interesting if they in these camps they force them to work, and so then it's like, oh, okay, now we're like, if we did that, like to these work camps are not cheap. They cost money, and so it's like then we're not only are we detaining them, we're also having to pay for guards. He's talking about using local police. This is another thing that they don't talk about. He's talking about use the local police, right? But if the local police are all guarding these undocumented workers, they're not doing police work. So then what happens to the crime rate? Nobody's worried about crime anymore. So then the crime happens. Of course, they probably think that all the crime is done by undocumented workers, but they're, anyway, stupid is as stupid does. All right. Yeah. Somebody got my typo dad joke. I'm glad. All right. And I mocked make free. I'm going off my high school German. Something make free. Arbeit. I don't know what that is. Arbeit. Anyway, if you want to translate that for me, is the mocked free? Does that make free? Oh. Okay. None of their plan is cheap. Yeah. From camps to tariffs. Oh, the economy is gonna be such a train wreck. Between he's like reduce it. He's gonna make unemployment go up. He's gonna make tariffs go up. He's gonna make food scarcity go up. Oh man, it's gonna be such a cluster fornication up in here if he gets his way on everything. And it's interesting watching MAGAs and the people that voted for him as they realize in real time what they voted for, because they didn't know what they were voting for. Like I was reading an article about a lot of the Muslims in Michigan going, oh, why is he, nominating such a pro-Israel cabinet? And it's like, dude, he said he was going to spill a gallon of Palestinian blood for every drop they spilled. He said he was going to deport your ass. He's going to strip your citizenship and deport your ass back to Gaza. And not Gaza. And now you're like shocked. Why are you shocked? Maybe you should have been doing that instead of screaming about Genocide Joe. You should have just done a fact check. Oh, what makes you free? I think that sounds like work makes one free. Ah, okay. So I got half of it right. It's been a while since my German class, so it's an old work camp slogan from the war. All right. So okay, my battery. I forgot to charge my laptop, so my battery's running out. So I just wanted to talk one more thing about free speech, and hopefully my battery will hold up. I think I'm gonna do a whiteboard video on this, but free speech, there's obviously the the idea of free speech, the way that Musk talks about it, is not the way that the Constitution talks about it. The Constitution says that the government can't prosecute you for what you say. It doesn't say that you have a right to a social media account. But Elon likes to talk about, like this town square thing, and thank you. I really actually enjoy doing those whiteboards. But Elon talks about like the new town square, right? The Twitter is the new town square, which it's not that at all anymore. And it actually fits in my little analogy here. Like, think of it as if you are in an actual town square and you're sitting there and you're having a conversation with somebody about whether or not, lights should go up at this intersection. And, this is the kind of stuff you're talking about at a local town square, kind of political debate, right? You're just, should this be a stop sign or a light that goes up here? And, should we have a speed bump? And you're talking about these things. And then all of a sudden, like a little R2D2 type robot comes up to you and starts beeping, right? And he's not really saying anything. He's just beeping, and it's very distracting. And then all of a sudden, you got like 1,000 of them. You got all these beep, 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 while you're trying to have a conversation. And it's really annoying. But it's not like anything terrible about it. But then they got new bots. They get new bots that speak. And they start saying that the mayor is an alien from outer space, and start, and you're like, this is so ridiculous. Of course he's not an alien from outer space. But they keep saying it and saying it and saying it. And then your guy you're talking to starts believing it. He's like, yeah, well, how do I know he's not an alien from outer space? How do I know he's not a lizard person? And so then you're talking with the guy that you used to talk to about traffic lights and stop signs. Now you're talking to about whether or not the alien is the mayor. And then you've got, then let's say somebody buys the town square and they start selling certain people bullhorns so that they can talk louder. And so you got the beeping, and you got the other robots and trolls that are talking about the mayor being from outer space. And then you've got, people with bullhorns blaring this nonsense. And then you've got the guy that bought the town square. Let's say he starts putting up these billboards all over the place that the mayor is an alien from outer space, and putting out this disinformation, using his ownership of the town square to push disinformation. And so then it's like all you can talk about with anybody, all anybody wants to talk about, is whether or not the mayor is an alien from outer space. And you can't talk about anything normal or reasonable anymore. You can't have an actual conversation because of all the beeping and yelling and bullhorns and all of that. Does that enhance or hurt free speech? My opinion is it does not help free speech at all. My opinion is it hinders free speech. And so, his whole town square analogy does not work with Twitter, because what he did is he ruined it. He ruined what free speech was there in terms of actually having freedom to speak and have dialogue and have conversations. That does not exist anymore, because he's given it over to the robots. He's given it over to the Russian trolls. He's given it over to the right-wing Nazis and the fascists and stuff like that. You cannot type anything. You can't say anything over there without getting inundated with, foolishness. So that's number one. Number two, when it comes to the government actually prosecuting people or actually threatening to prosecute people, where's the free speech champion? He's joining the side that's doing that. Like, he's on Ron DeSantis' side. He's on Donald Trump's side. Ron DeSantis is like trying to prosecute people for signing a petition that is something he didn't like. Ron DeSantis is taking away licenses from governments for things they said. He is actively using the government to punish people for saying things he doesn't like. And now you've got Donald Trump threatening to take away media license, threatening to throw people from the media in jail. These are direct violations of the First Amendment because they involve the government. And the champion of free speech is not championing free speech. He's egging it on. So, like, when people act like Elon Musk is some sort of champion of free speech, I think that's just a ridiculous assessment. So, anyway, that's my little diatribe on that. But my battery is really about to die now. And so I'm happy I got 10 people to join for this live call. That's the most I've ever had from YouTube. Usually it's like 500 from Twitter, but I'm more or less severing all ties from Twitter now. I don't want to do anything at all that helps that asshole. So thanks for joining and thanks for commenting. It's really encouraging when I see comments, because I know I'm actually making sense. So all right, appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow.